and every single item is handmade from scratch, made to order. So if, Leah wanted a Dubai chocolate cake, we are getting the order and we're making it specifically for you. It's not sitting in a freezer waiting to be picked and placed on a pallet. We're super proud of our products. Being a super premium brand, our customers have come to expect a certain level of quality, and that's what we provide to them, every day. What we provide is a consistent product that is always going to be world-class and really industry-leading. A mentor of mine at one time told me that speed wins, and boy, is that true in our industry. If you're able to get to market quickly, consistently, on time, adding value, the product will almost sell itself.
My last question that I ask all of our guests as they join us on the episode, as you know, we're called Recipe to Revenue. But what I ask is, what has been your recipe to revenue for the success of Symphony? Hello, welcome back to Recipe to Revenue. I'm Leah Messina, your host from Sinuate Media, and I'm excited to be here today with David Kratchman. He is the Director of Business Development and a General Partner at Symphony Pastries. Symphony Pastries is a company that's based in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia, and they have really defined what premium means in the world of desserts. And I'm excited to have David here today share us more information about the business and how they've been able to carve out a really interesting niche in this space. So David, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Leah.
Yeah, so let's kind of start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about Symphony, and your family, had acquired the business a couple of years ago. How did that all come about?
Sure. So we acquired Symphony Pastries from the previous owner. His name was Chef Jan Michard. Jan was a renowned pastry chef, was cut his teeth really in France with some really prominent French chefs, came to the United States with an idea to work in restaurants, worked at Tavern on the Green, worked at some really high-end properties all over New York and around the United States, realized that there was really a huge market for pastries that were French-inspired, European-inspired, but would cut a lot of the labor and a lot of the time from the pastry chefs. So created Symphony Pastries about 30 years ago. And our background is in the food distribution and also the manufacturing space. My family my brother Brett owned a food distribution company in Philadelphia. It was called BK Specialty Foods, in business for 35 plus years. And we knew Jan. He was one of our vendors. And then Jan decided he wanted to sell his business. At the time, we had sold our company to Chef's Warehouse, and Chef's Warehouse remained on with Symphony as one of their vendors. So Jan approached us, and we made a deal to purchase Symphony from Jan. I work with my brother Brett and also my brother Barry. My sister Karen is also involved. So it's certainly a family business through and through.
Yeah, that's excellent. So how did you divide up everybody's responsibilities in the family?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a bit like a big kibbutz over here at Symphony. We divide and conquer, a lot of things. I'm mostly responsible for our business development, going out, seeing our customers, creating value, new opportunities. A lot of growth we've had this year, which is wonderful. My brother Barry has a great manufacturing background, so he's really responsible for a lot of that. And then my brother Brett is, a managing partner along with Barry, oversees a lot of the financial aspects, a lot of the inventory, purchasing controls, IT, and that sort of thing. So we divide and conquer, but we also all work together.
Yeah. Yes. Everybody had their area of expertise, but
yes,
really nice that you can bring it all together in the family. And so when you're working, as a family and as business partners, how do you set the goals for the business of how you want to grow it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, we have great partners currently nationwide. There's a lot of large customers that we have that, we're really blessed to have a lot of good growth with them. We're always innovating. We have new products that we've come out with. We have a Dubai chocolate cake that's hit the market and it's taken off, pretty dramatically.
Yeah, so popular the last year or so.
It's
everywhere.
It's amazing the growth with the Dubai chocolate. We have a lot of gluten-free items, vegan items. So there's a lot of variation in what we manufacture. Yeah. And the thing that really separates us is the fact that we hand make every single item from scratch. And we also, use a lot of really high-end ingredients. And every single item is handmade from scratch, made to order. So if, Leah wanted a Dubai chocolate cake, we are getting the order and we're making it specifically for you. It's not sitting in a freezer waiting to be picked and placed on a pallet.
Yeah. Amazing. So what kind of turnaround time? And like you said, you have very big clients. So these are not, small endeavors.
Yeah. We turn around within 10 business days. So there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of hands make our products, which is part of the charm. But we're always looking for new technology and new ways to kind of speed up that process as well.
Yeah. And we'll definitely share some photos of your products because they are quite beautiful, as many French pastries are, but they are works of art.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. We're super proud of our products. Being a super premium brand, our customers have come to expect a certain level of quality, and that's what we provide to them, every day.
Yeah. And you had shared with me, some of your philosophies on, price and value and being in that premium category. So what are some ways that, as a business, you kind of inject that premium mentality, across your team and in your production?
So as I mentioned, we make every single item from scratch. And at times it's painstaking to make every single item by hand. But the great thing is that it adds a lot of value to what we're providing. I like to say that price doesn't equal value. So there are certainly lower priced options in the market for desserts, and taking nothing away from our competitors. I'm not begrudging them or speaking ill of our competition. But there's a difference between what we do and what other large bakeries do. We provide value through our relationship that we have with our customers, with the support that we provide on the street level, like myself getting out with our customers in the street, in the field, and really, driving sales for them. One of the best compliments I've ever gotten was like, Dave, what's the hot new item that I can provide for our chefs? And I said, without a doubt, like, our new Dubai chocolate is exploded. I provided a sample. It was off and running. And, now they're one of our largest users of that item. So just providing that added value is really what sets us apart.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's important. Like being able to actually hear people on the ground, like what they're asking for and take that feedback in, which makes me, think about how are you internally kind of keeping on track of what the trends are to come out with a product in time, get it into your production cycles and be able to reach those demands. What does that look like?
Yeah. So we're always doing R&D. We have an executive pastry chef that works for us. His name is Chef Mike D'Angelo. Super talented guy, very organized, always looking for new items, looking to bring value to our customers, and stay ahead of our competition, frankly. There's a lot of items that a lot of people are making, but there's a lot of items that only Symphony makes, and that sets us apart. Publications, social media certainly is a great way to find and develop new items. I don't think that Dubai chocolate would be nearly as popular had it not been for the social media bonanza that kind of followed that item. Right. So there's some other things in the pipeline for the first quarter. I don't want to delve too much into it right now, but
Mm-hmm.
it is something top of mind for us at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to stay on top of it to really have that competitive edge to it on, which I think also layers on, of course, to the quality that you're providing. But quality
No,
plus being ahead of the curve is a little bit of a secret sauce there.
yes, and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
What we provide is a consistent product that is always going to be world class and really industry leading.
Yeah. How do you, when you are having those sales conversations, with your customers, how do you reframe those so that it isn't about cost? It is about the quality and value that you're providing.
Yep. So our value is really in our homemade, made from scratch
Mm-hmm.
story. A lot of what we do is custom made for our customers. What we're offering to them is really just a value through our performance.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of expensive solutions that add value. There's a lot of inexpensive solutions that add value. It's really
Mm-hmm.
all about how we evaluate our customers, what we can do to add value for them. New
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, reduced downtime in our production. We evaluate every single supplier that we do business with, and
Mm-hmm.
also our bakery's Cough K kosher dairy. So that's
Mm-hmm.
also a separation for us, something that we take very seriously. The rabbi comes in, does random inspections,
Mm-hmm.
gives us the literal blessing that we can go forth and prosper. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that are that we stake our reputation on as a high end bakery, as
Mm-hmm.
professionals in the field.
Yeah. So what do you think, in growing the business as you have and your plans for continuing to grow in the future, what are some ways you're able to maintain your consistency while you're scaling the business? Because it's so handcrafted. So how do you do that when it's something
Yeah,
you
it's
need to
interesting.
scale?
So we're currently working on a large project that required adding pretty much double the headcount that we had in our production facility. We moved really quickly to find a solution for this customer,
Mm-hmm.
and they were blown away by our consistency from start to finish. They called me on a Monday. I had them a prototype by Friday. I flew it down to their corporate office to show them the product, met with them. We had production schedule within 2 weeks, and we were filling our first POs within 21 business days. So we
Wow.
we're able to move quickly. We're spry. We're always looking for great opportunities. And that customer specifically was really very impressed by our ability to move fast,
Yeah.
and also with the consistent product. A lot of a lot of places would probably not be able to move as fast.
Mm-hmm.
And a mentor of mine at one time told me that speed wins. And boy, is that true in our industry. If you're able to get to market quickly, consistently, on time, adding value, the product will almost sell itself.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on speed. We talked a couple episodes back about hustle, and which kind of correlates to that. Um,
Yep.
and it happens with a lot of bigger companies about there's just so much silos and just kind of things that get put in the way where speed isn't possible. So, you know,
Yes.
what do you credit your ability to adapt to the speed so quickly? Is it just a mentality, or because you have systems in place to support that?
Both. So we're growth driven, right, Leah? Like we want to grow our business. We want to win. We're competitive people by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And when we lose opportunities, which thankfully is few and far between, we huddle up and realize and try and find what the reason was that we lost them.
Yeah.
Whether it's a customer buying one product or somebody buying 100. Thankfully, knock on wood, we don't have a lot of that. But
Yeah.
what we do is we work collaboratively. We all use our strengths together, and we provide results. What we're able to do is really understand what our customers are looking for and how we can solve for their needs.
Yeah. And some of your customers are cruise lines and airlines and, very big,
Yep.
in the tourism space.
Yeah.
Was that something that you introduced to the business, or was that something Symphony was doing prior to your acquisition?
A bit of both. So we have a great partnership with an airline broker, and also with our current distribution network, that has helped a lot to land those deals. Some of that business was already existing at Symphony, and some of it, I brought on, our current team brought on. But it's not about me taking credit for it. It's about the contribution that I can provide to our team, and get it across the finish line. Score touchdowns, and
Yeah.
just grow our business.
Yeah. So in, taking over a company comes with a lot of, existing infrastructure and, this is the way we've done business for 3 decades.
Yep.
What kind of challenges did you face in that transition to your leadership?
Yeah, we're fortunate that we have a great production team that have been there for 5, 10+ years. That's one of the things that really drew us to this opportunity, is that the systems are already in place. What we've been able to do is modernize it, bring it up to the 21st century using technology, integrating it with, various warehouse systems, buy better ingredients, buy better in terms of making deals with our vendors. So we had a really good team in place. We have a great production manager, and all in, like, we're really doing a great job of producing enough product to satisfy our customers' needs.
Yeah. What do you look for in a vendor, like a kind of relationship, aspects you find important?
Yeah, just like our customers look for in us, we look for in our vendors. What value do they bring to us? Is there programmatic deals that we can make with them that help reduce our cost, and we can pass that cost savings on to our customer? What is it that their purpose is? What values that they have that align best with Symphony? So, just the same way that we look for our customers to have that value, and that impact that we can provide for them, we're looking for the same with our suppliers.
Yeah. Excellent. And then as you're looking at your business development, the growth of experience and where you want to take the company, what are some areas where you see opportunity in this industry?
Yeah, to improve our footprint nationwide, there are certainly some areas that we are looking to strengthen, and there are some areas that we've got great coverage in. Part of that, under my responsibilities, are to find the right talent to maybe help us get to that next level. Finding, great customers that have exactly the type of customer base we're looking for. We have a nice relationship currently with all of our customer partners, but there's always room for improvement, of course. I'm looking to really reinforce our brand nationwide. We have a large presence at a lot of national trade shows. We have a presence at a lot of our customer trade shows, regionally. So just getting the Symphony brand out there, getting the name out there. Who knows? The sky's the limit. We've had tremendous growth in the year 2025, and we're looking to just improve upon that in the future.
Yeah. So does your day to day, are you kind of boots on the ground? Let me go just meet with everybody, create relationships, or are you, kind of looking at the overall company messaging, communications, Walk us through a day in the life of David.
Yeah, it's I think the correct answer there is C. It's all of the above. We're a small team. It's a family-owned business. I've focused a lot of my time on business development, speaking with our customers, planning ride-alongs with their reps, getting out in front of our distributor partner customers and hitting the street with them. But then this other part of my job is to, just help the team increase our technological advancements, warehouse management systems, hiring the right people, getting the right people in the right positions. I lean on my brothers, Brett and Barry, a lot for their experience and helping kind of work through the administrative side of the business. They're really very good at that. They've had decades of experience running businesses, and I learn a lot from both of them every single day. So we all work together. I enjoy being out in the field. I like getting out into the marketplace, getting out there and seeing what our customers are doing, and having that distribution background myself. I understand what their distributor reps are looking for and how they're selling into their customers. So I think we're uniquely positioned in the sense that we understand the distribution network and the balance that it takes to close deals with the distributors.
Yeah, and it's kind of where we are in the world these days with economic changes, and there's always changes, especially in the travel industry. Do you see more growth in, let's say, travel, or do you see opportunity in other areas?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny because as a U.S. made product, we're seeing a lot of opportunities for large format, with a lot of different, like with airlines, cruise ships, caterers, customers that were maybe using an imported product from Europe, from France, from Spain, wherever it may be. And with the tariffs and the import costs now, the airlines and a lot of these large customers are looking for a U.S. product.
Yeah, so
they want to use an American product that, on the side of our box is stamped "Made in the USA," proudly made in USA, and that messaging goes a long way with our customers. It's hard to. We're definitely competing with some larger suppliers and manufacturers now, and I think that has to do with the fact that some of these customers don't want to have an imported product. So it's very unique, and it's a unique position we're in to be able to find solutions for these customers.
Yeah, and a great opportunity for you to develop those relationships now that I'm sure last you many, many years going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. We want to create relationships. We're not transactionally driven. We want to build value. We want to build trust. We really just want to keep pushing that ball forward and understand what people are looking for. As I mentioned before, like moving quickly, making good supplier deals, trying to add value wherever we can.
Yeah. How do you, as a leader in your company, share the values that you have with the rest of the team and make sure that everybody's on the same page about what the company's beliefs are?
It's all about building the culture. As I mentioned before, we have some of our employees that were here pre-acquisition. We hadn't really lost anybody in the acquisition, which is pretty rare. A lot of times people will leave.
Sure.
And that really just is attributed to our cultural fit. We want to work hard. We want to win. We strive for excellence every single day. And when we look for new employees and new partners, we want to have that cultural fit that we're all on the same page. we take great pride in what we do, and that's the type of people that we're looking for to partner with.
Yeah, I love that. One of the quotes that I took from some of the information you shared with me about the company was investments create value, expenses consume it.
Yes.
Yeah. How does that, mindset apply to the company in the day to day?
Yeah. So, I like to say that like we're either building value or we are just maintaining the status quo. What we're really looking to do now is like add value through investing in our employee training, build the skills of our current team. We have several, young professionals on our team now that have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Fresh out of culinary school or fresh out of college, and I see, and I don't want to age myself, but I see a lot of them in my path. My path was in operations. I drove a truck. I picked orders. I swept up the floors. I opened up the doors in the morning. Whatever the team needed done, I did it.
Yeah.
And that culture is what we're trying to accomplish here. We want to find that great that great talent that can be the Swiss Army knife that we can input them into whatever project we're trying to accomplish, and they'll solve for that issue and that problem, enhance their lives, help us along the way, and really build that life skill that they can take with them going forward.
Yeah. Now, I was going to just say, as an employer, having a team that is that Swiss Army knife is just so valuable. Like, because they know the business, they can understand why decisions are being made and what needs to happen to get the thing done.
Definitely. And, our goal as leaders is really to channel that talent, give them the right resources, give them the tools to do a great job, and develop them into future leaders. And our existing team, develop them as well. Nobody's too experienced or too old or anything to learn new things, and embrace technology and use all of the tools that are available to us to run a great business and to put a great product out into the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you mentioned technology a couple of times. And I think one nuance there that I particularly value is, in an acquisition for a company that is just a great company, has a great product, but just hasn't invested in the technology or modernization of the business, is such a great prospect for an acquisition. If you can bring that into it. And it sounds a little bit like that's maybe, one of the things that you focused on in acquiring Symphony. So when you're talking technology, I heard you say technology with the, warehousing software and whatnot. What are some of the other areas that you have modernized as it relates to technology?
Well, we've modernized a lot of our production, facility. We've added some more machinery and some more mixing apparatus, and a lot of the production, useful equipment. We've upgraded a lot of that. We had all that in place already, but it was just time to put some additional capital into getting more efficient, streamlining a lot of our processes, being able to have better freezing capabilities with blast freezing technology. We use a water jet, which it's almost like an AutoCAD. It's about the size of about 6 foot in diameter. And what it does is it water laser cuts our product. And it has added a lot of value and a lot of time savings. We started with, I think we had 2, and now we have 4.
Oh, wow.
So
that's how you get all the precise lines and all the pieces of cake?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And, all of these different things have added a lot of value to what we're able to output. As I mentioned, we added, a lot of headcount based upon our demand needs. And, we are just trying to support a long-term, brand equity that we're able to keep growing. We had we inherited a great business. And one of the things when looking at acquisition is like, you want to pay a fair price for a great business.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done. And we've added a lot of value, both for our brand and for our customers.
Yeah. Wow. Well done to your family on that one. I think, and the way that you've been able to grow it, especially this past year, is obviously a testament to all of your expertise, but more importantly, I think to your philosophy of running the business, that really shines through. What advice would you give any operators out there that are trying to also build a value-based brand like you have?
So it's all about, how can you compete in the marketplace? Do you want to compete on price? Do you want to compete on, your relationships in the market? There is a product for every plate. And what I mean by that is there is a market for that, low cost product. There is a market for that mid-tier product. And of course there's a market for what we're offering with our upscale desserts. Where do you want to be in the marketplace? Sometimes I've found, sometimes surprisingly, that a low cost option is not what they're looking for. They're looking for premium dessert. And that's where we fit in, especially as a domestic US made product. What I try and tell people that are looking at new and existing businesses is, where can you add value? What can you do as a shareholder to add value to your company and to your customers? Do you have the relationships in the marketplace to really understand what they're looking for? Or are you brand new to the industry? The last thing you want to do is get involved with an industry that you may not have any idea how to actually create value. So do your homework, do your due diligence, make the right investments, and be a little bit patient. Sometimes things don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of relationship building to really be successful here.
Yeah. Yeah. All those overnight successes that really happened over a period of 20 years.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. We were fortunate to have a great brand. We inherited a wonderful brand with great people. There was already a nationwide distribution network that we already had relationships with because of our own past. So we were able to, double down on our investments and build value with those existing customers.
Yeah, that definitely gave you a leg into the success of Symphony, but that's also just smart business in terms of acquiring a business that it's
Absolutely.
not, you don't have that same learning curve.
Right.
Oh, so okay, I need to know, what is your favorite dessert that Symphony makes?
So we make a mango passion fruit cake that is out of this world. I love that product. It's my favorite. Sometimes when I'm doing a presentation and everyone asks me like what my favorite is, I go with that one, and it just is so good. We use fresh fruit, all natural purees. It's really just an outstanding product. Our most popular item is our chocolate crunch. It's a hand layered feuilletine bottom with a really nice chocolatey cake in there. It's outstanding. Our tiramisu is excellent, but it's all European inspired. If you're looking for that tiramisu that has the ladyfingers going around the outside, it's not. This is not what this is. This is more like layered dessert cake, way more flavor forward and European inspired, French inspired than maybe what some people are used to. But it's really to die for.
Oh. Well, it all sounds delicious. So
yeah, thank you. Yes.
All right. So my last question that I ask all of our guests as they join us on the episode, as you know, we're called Recipe to Revenue. But what I ask is, what has been your recipe to revenue for the success of Symphony, or you in your own personal career?
Yeah, it sounds cliche, but it's just getting out there and making it happen. We only have one shot a lot of times to make an impression on customers,
Yeah.
especially with the amount of competition in our field. Sometimes if I'm at a customer's sales meeting, they might have 5 different dessert companies that they're all presenting to their sales team at the same meeting. And it's just about creating that value, the relationships that you have in the field, in the marketplace, doing the right thing by your customers, charging a fair price for an outstanding product. And internally, it's just about building that culture, as I mentioned, wanting to win, going out there every day and thinking that every day is the Super Bowl. You're winning the Super Bowl every day. How can we make today better than yesterday? And how can we go out there and just strive to win? Focus on deliverables, focus on the right things, developing relationships with your customers and with your vendor partners for that matter. And having a great team around you that all want to succeed and are rowing the boat in the same direction.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Do you think that your drive to win came, is that a family, trait that you all inherited, or is that something that, you just kind of grew to align with?
Probably inherited. So our father was the hardest working man I think I've ever known in my life. He owned a small seafood company in Philadelphia, got up every single day, 4 o'clock in the morning, worked all day, cold, wet, heat. It didn't matter. He was out there getting it done. I remember being a small child and going there and helping him work. My brother Barry worked with my father for a number of years. And, that hard work rubbed off on all of us. Yeah. And it's now, something that we have great pride in our family legacy of hard work. Building this company. We've built BK Foods. My brother Barry has built Classic Cake. So, we have a lot of pride in what we do. And this is the next chapter. We're here to win. We're here to grow. We're here for a long time, and looking forward to what happens next.
Oh, David, I think that you've gave so many inspiring moments in our chat today. And I know that everybody will have a lot to think about and how they can apply these things to their own business. I know I have. So I appreciate you taking the time to share your insights with us. So thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon, and best of luck to Symphony and all your future growth.
Thank you. You as well. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Bye now.
See ya.